Welcome to the FEMolution Podcast. This isn't another finance show about hustling harder, chasing revenue, or glorifying burnout. And it's definitely not another conversation about chasing profit at any cost. This is where we dismantle the systems that told you you had to make more money before you were allowed to protect it. Because at FEM Solutions, we believe in something radically different. Protection comes first, and profit naturally follows. Because real financial power isn't about being rich, it's about being resourced. And on this podcast, we're redefining what financial freedom actually means. And it is not a destination reserved for the wealthy, but it's a daily practice available at any income level when you understand how to manage, protect, and optimize what you already have. We talk about building financial ecosystems, not just profitable businesses, about securing your infrastructure before you scale your income, and creating systems that protect your cash flow, your peace, and your future. You'll hear conversations rooted in FEM's core philosophy: protection first, not profit first, and strong money that supports a soft life, and freedom that's measured by resources, not status. And last but definitely not least, impact that extends beyond your bank account. Because FEM is not here to follow the industry standards. We're here to set a new one. Because we don't just serve clients, we empower change makers. And this podcast is part of that movement. It's part of our empowering process. So if you know your brilliance deserves better support, if you're done building income without infrastructure, and you're ready to stop leaking money, energy, and peace, then you're in the right place. This is the FEMolution Podcast, where we teach you how to do money the FEM way. Most people hear the word survival and immediately think scarcity, bare minimum, holding your breath, just getting by. But that's not actually what survival is doing inside your business. Survival is the moment before clarity, because it's the layer that determines whether every decision you make is reactive or directive. And if survival isn't structurally handled first, everything else you build is forced to compensate for it. In the 4S FEMFlow, survival is not about fear. It's about viability. Survival is the non-negotiable baseline that allows the business and the CEO, you, to exist without constant threat. It's not about growth. It's not about optimization. It's not about your ambition. It's simply about your existence. And when survival is unstable or threatened, the nervous system runs the business, not strategy. Now, most founders are told to push through survival, right? To hustle past it, to outgrow it. But survival doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It just goes underground. Can't pretend like survival doesn't exist. Because if you do that, here's what it's going to show up as. You ready? Urgency, where none is required. Over discounting, overcompensating, undercharging, right? Saying yes to misaligned clients or partnerships. Panic when the money lands, and paralysis when it doesn't. Oh my God, how am I going to get through? They didn't pay. I just lost this money. Moving forward, like, oh my gosh, now I got to figure out how to pay this, how to pay that, how to keep the lights on, how to keep the water flowing, right? When you don't think about it, when you try to ignore it, when you try to outrun it, it shows up like that. We can go deeper, but I ain't gonna do that to you today, okay? That's conversation for another day. Because we can talk about the things people do in survival mode, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. All right. But just know that survival, when it's unsupported, hijacks decision making. And at FEM, we don't treat survival as a phase for you to escape, right? We treat it as an architectural layer that we need to stabilize. Because survival isn't something you're going to graduate from, okay? It's something you secure. Just like a foundation, okay? You don't stop needing a foundation just because the building gets taller, right? You reinforce it. So I want you to think about this. Survival answers one question only and nothing else, okay? You ready? Can this business continue to exist without emergency intervention? Without you, I'm going to give you an example, putting money that you don't have into the business. Can it continue to exist without that? If the answer is no, then nothing else above it is real. It's just a hobby. It's not a business. Plain and simple. Okay? And we're going to talk about something else because remember, when most people hear survival, they immediately think scarcity. So I'm going to give you the difference between the two right now so you can stop having that immediate thought. All right? Scarcity is psychological, meaning it's in your head, it's mindset, right? Survival is logistical. Scarcity says there's never enough. Survival says what must be covered so nothing else collapses. Because when survival is handled intentionally, the nervous system softens. You can breathe easier. You're calmer, right? You stop operating like every decision is life or death. And you start choosing directing, right? Instead of reacting. Most financial systems, whether people want to admit this or not, are built on willpower sequencing. All right? Make more, be disciplined, try harder, hustle more. Right? But FEM, we replace that with protection sequencing. Remember, FEM is protection first. Okay? So that means survival is first because protection creates capacity. You cannot think clearly while your system is bracing for impact. Okay? Survival isn't pessimistic. It's preventative. It's necessary, even, right? And here's the part that no one says out loud. You don't gain freedom by skipping survival. You gain freedom by locking it down, securing it, right? Because once survival is structurally supported inside your system, all right, your decisions slow down. Not because you're stuck, all right? But because you're no longer being chased. So you ain't in constant fight or flight no more, right? And that's where your autonomy will begin. All right? Survival is not the first level of FEMFlow because it's small, right? Because it's tiny, it's insignificant. No, it's the lowest level because it carries the most weight, just like a foundation, right? Everything else, stability, self-care, savings, rests on it. All right. And those are all expressions of survival being handled well, AKA your foundation being rock solid. Because when your survival is handled, right? Everything's good there. The system can finally breathe and stretch its arms, right? Doesn't feel so cramped. So, I didn't tell you what needs to be in survival because survival is pretty much common sense at this point. You know what you need to pay every single month in your business to keep it running. You know what your business needs to keep going, right? Meaning you have a certain level of discernment. Like if I don't pay this bill, it's going to directly affect this, and this, right? We know that. It's common sense at this point. So I didn't waste your time talking about it because you should know what you need to keep the lights on, to keep your business flowing. All right. So that being said, instead of you asking yourself, how do I make more money? All right. I want you to ask yourself this. What does my system require to remain non-threatened? Not emotionally, structurally, because we're talking about the foundation, right? And that answer is going to change everything moving upstream, everything you build after that. Okay. So, in the next layer, AKA next week, we're going to move from existence, which is survival, to consistency, which is stability, right? Because once the threat is removed, once you know your bottom line number that you have to have every single month, no matter what, if you want to keep going, okay, the real work can begin. So once that's covered, then the real work begins. All right. Now, if this reframes survival for you, all right, I want you to follow the FEMolution podcast. Okay. Because here, this is where your protection becomes your power and systems replace pressure. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever you're doing this week, right? And I'll see you next week where we're going to talk about stability. All right.